Aurora, Texas, 1897. In the annals of Earth's history, the year 1897 held a secret known only to a select few, a hidden narrative that reverberated through the ages like a cosmic echo. At the heart of this mysterious chapter were Valiant Thor and Lady Anna, two cosmic wanderers who hailed from the distant reaches of the galaxy. Their journey was guided by an insatiable curiosity, and their arrival on Earth marked the beginning of a new era in interplanetary relations. As Valiant Thor and Lady Anna descended towards the quiet town of Aurora, Texas, they couldn't help but be struck by the quaint charm of the terrestrial landscape that unfolded beneath them. The small town was nestled in rolling hills, dotted with farms and ranches, each surrounded by a white picket fence. The setting sun cast a warm glow over the town as they flew closer. But suddenly, their peaceful descent was interrupted as a gunshot echoed through the air. A farmer had spotted the alien ship and panicked, firing his rifle at it. To their surprise, one lucky shot hit the ship's power supply, causing it to burst into flames and plummet towards the Earth. The impact was jarring, the ship crashing into the ground with a thunderous boom. Valiant and Anna were thrown from their seats, but their advanced technology protected them from any serious injuries. As they stepped out of the wreckage, they were greeted by a stunned crowd of humans who had gathered around the crash site. The sight of two otherworldly beings emerging from a flaming spacecraft was almost too much for these slack-jawed yokels to comprehend. But Valiant and Anna remained calm and composed, using their telepathic abilities to communicate with the humans. They assured them that they meant no harm to them and were simply passing through on a mission of exploration. The people of Aurora were in awe, not only because they were witnessing an extraterrestrial encounter, but also because Valiant and Anna possessed advanced knowledge and technology far beyond anything they had ever seen before. For years, Valiant and Anna stayed in Aurora as guests of the town, answering questions about their home planet and sharing information about the universe. They quickly became beloved members of the community, even helping out with tasks such as repairing buildings or tending to crops using their advanced technology. But it wasn't all peaceful during their time in Aurora. Rumors began to spread about strange occurrences happening in the town, such as animals acting strangely, or disappearing without a trace. Some even claimed to have seen lights in the sky that resembled flying saucers. Valiant and Anna knew that these were remnants of their own presence on Earth, mostly from experiments and tests that they had conducted while staying in Aurora. But they also knew that all of humanity was not yet ready to know the truth about extraterrestrial life. As news of the alien visitors in Aurora spread beyond the small town, it caught the attention of law enforcement agencies such as the Texas Rangers and the United States Marshals. They saw it as their duty to investigate and protect their country from any potential threat. The townspeople of Aurora, however, had come to like Valiant and Anna and saw them as peaceful beings. They knew that if these aliens were truly dangerous, they would have shown it by now. So when officers arrived at the town to question them, the people of Aurora banded together to protect their new friends. They told the officers that Valiant and Anna had died in the crash and showed them a fake wreckage site with burnt metal scraps. Some even went as far as to create fake graves for the aliens in a nearby cemetery. This show of unity and protection from the townspeople left a lasting impression on Valiant and Anna. They had traveled across galaxies, encountering many different civilizations, but never before had they experienced such kindness and acceptance. But despite their admiration for the people of Aurora, Valiant and Anna knew that they couldn't stay forever. The longer they stayed, the more likely it was that their true identities would be revealed. And so, after a number of years of living among the humans near their original crash site, Valiant and Anna bid farewell to their friends. The townspeople understood their reasons for leaving and wished them well on their journey. After their time in Aurora, Valiant and Anna traveled from town to town across the United States. They were welcomed by some and feared by others, but they never felt as at home as they had in Aurora. They learned about different cultures and ways of life, but none seemed to suit them quite like the small Texas town of Aurora had. And so, after a few decades of persistent travel, they found themselves migrating eastwards towards Washington, D.C. Valiant was intrigued by the nation's capital and the inner workings of its government. He eventually decided to apply for a federal position so that he could use his knowledge of advanced technology to help improve the lives of humans on Earth. With his impressive knowledge and charismatic persona, Valiant quickly rose through the ranks and became one of the most influential figures in Washington, D.C. He worked closely with high-ranking officials and eventually advised presidents on matters of national security and scientific advancement. Anna, on the other hand, pursued her passion for education and became a professor at a local university. She shared her vast knowledge of science and technology with her students, sparking curiosity and inspiring young minds. As their reputation grew in D.C., many began to speculate about their true identities. Some believed them to be powerful business moguls or foreign dignitaries from unknown countries, but no one could have guessed that they were aliens from another planet. Despite their busy lives in D.C., Valiant and Anna never forgot about their time in Aurora. They often reminisced about their peaceful days there, surrounded by kind-hearted humans who had accepted them without question. Roswell, New Mexico, 1947. The sweltering summer of 1947 cast a relentless heat over the dusty plains of Roswell, New Mexico. The desert stretched as far as the eye could see, a vast expanse where secrets whispered on the arid winds. In the midst of this searing landscape stood Valiant Thor, a cosmic wanderer whose travels transcended not only the stars but also the corridors of time itself. By his side remained his ever-faithful companion, Lady Anna. Valiant Thor had observed the ebb and flow of human history from the shadows, an enigmatic figure who was now intertwined with Earth's story. He had stood sentinel over the events of Aurora, Texas, and now, amidst the sagebrush and the desert winds of Roswell, he was on the cusp of another chapter in his cosmic journey. News of two mysterious UFOs crashing into one another in the desert had reached Valiant Thor's ears, a disruption in the cosmic fabric that stirred his insatiable curiosity. It was not vessels made by his own kind or his own making that had plummeted from the heavens, nor were they of human origin. In the quiet hours of the night, cloaked in the obscurity of a starlit desert, he ventured to the crash site, drawn by an inexplicable force to the heart of this cosmic enigma. The morning sun, radiant and unrelenting, bathed the New Mexico desert in an amber glow as Valiant Thor stood before the shattered remnants of the extraterrestrial craft. The metallic husk bore no resemblance to any technology he had ever encountered before, a testament to the breathtaking diversity of cosmic civilizations that roamed the vastness of the universe. Valiant Thor approached the wreckage with a sense of reverence, his keen eyes roving over the shattered remnants of the extraterrestrial craft. Despite its ruined state, there was an unmistakable elegance to its design, a testament to the advanced technology of its creators. But as he drew closer, Valiant Thor sensed a faint glimmer of life emanating from within the twisted metal. Cautiously, he pried open one of the panels and was met with a startling sight. 3 small aliens lay huddled together in the cramped interior of the craft, their bodies battered and broken from the impact. One appeared to be already deceased, but Valiant Thor could sense that 2 of the others were still clinging to life. Without hesitation, he gently lifted them out of the wreckage and carried them away from the hot blazing sun. As he laid them down on a bed of soft grass, he noticed that one of them was particularly injured. The alien's skin was a shimmering bluish green, and it radiated an otherworldly aura that caught Valiant Thor off guard. He quickly turned his attention to tending to their most serious injuries first, using his knowledge and abilities to heal them as best as he could. The process was painstaking but ultimately successful. Both aliens were stabilized and able to regain consciousness. They looked up at Valiant Thor with wide eyes filled with both gratitude and wonder. They spoke in a language unknown to him, but through some cosmic connection, Valiant Thor could understand both their thoughts and their feelings. The aliens introduced themselves as Ree and Zoran, members of an advanced civilization called the Magellanians, who had been on a diplomatic mission when their spacecraft malfunctioned mid-flight. They were deeply grateful for Valiant Thor's help in saving their lives. As they recovered from their injuries in Valiant Thor's presence, Ree and Zoran revealed more about their people and their way of life. They were explorers like him, traveling the stars in search of knowledge and understanding. They were peaceful beings who sought to ensure that man would not destroy itself by their newfound ability to split the atom. As Valiant Thor continued to tend to Ree and Zoran's injuries, he couldn't help but be intrigued by their physical appearance. They were small but humanoid in shape, with 2 arms and 2 legs, but there were subtle differences that set them apart from humans and his own kind. Their skin had a slight iridescent quality to it, and their eyes were larger and more luminous than any he had ever encountered. But what truly caught Valiant Thor's attention was when he took samples of their DNA for further analysis. It was then that he made a startling discovery. The genetic makeup of these beings was almost identical to that of humans. In fact, they shared 99% of the same DNA. Valiant Thor couldn't believe it at first, but the evidence was undeniable. These so-called aliens were not extraterrestrial beings at all, they were an advanced, more evolved version of mankind. Ree and Zoran confirmed this revelation, explaining that their ancestors had once been inhabitants of Earth thousands of years ago. But as humanity began to threaten its own existence with weapons and various new forms of environmental destruction, a group of enlightened individuals escaped to a new planet where they could continue to evolve without interference. Valiant Thor was astounded by this information. He had always believed in the potential for humanity to evolve into something greater, but he never imagined that it would actually happen. In fact, in the statistical model used by Thor's own kind, mankind was predicted to go extinct shortly after they evolved to be flexible enough to service their own sexual urges without the need of procreational partners. As Ree and Zoran recovered from their injuries, Valiant Thor spent countless hours talking with them about their society and how they lived. He learned about their advanced technology, their peaceful way of life, and their deep connection with both nature and the cosmos. Valiant Thor's time with Ree and Zoran was cut short when their spacecraft was finally repaired and they were able to continue on their mission. But before they left, Ree and Zoran shared some impactful parting words with Valiant Thor. They thanked him for his kindness and hospitality, but also warned him about the state of affairs on Earth. They explained that while humanity on Earth had the potential for great evolution, it was currently headed down a dangerous path. They feared that if mankind did not change its ways soon, that it would ultimately lead to their own destruction. Valiant Thor took their warnings to heart and promised Ree and Zoran that he would do whatever he could to help humanity evolve in a more positive direction. He knew that this task would not be easy, as humans were deeply rooted in their destructive ways and extremely resistant to change. As Ree and Zoran bid him farewell, Valiant Thor felt a sense of responsibility weighing heavily upon his shoulders. He believed that he had been brought to Earth for a reason, not just to observe, but to intervene and guide humanity towards a better future. But first, he had to inform his own kind of this incredible new knowledge about mankind's potential. Valiant Thor knew that they would be fascinated by the discovery of these highly evolved humans and eager to learn more about them. As Valiant Thor made his way back to his own kind's secret base within the inner depths of Venus for a well-earned 6 months of rest and relaxation using one of 3 known alien spaceships that were recovered from prior incidents and later repaired, he couldn't shake off the feeling of urgency in his heart. He knew that time was running out for humanity on Earth, and that he had a duty to act before it was too late. Upon arriving back at his hidden base on Venus, Valiant Thor wasted no time sharing his experiences with his superiors. They were amazed by the revelations that there were advanced humans living on other planets, and immediately began brainstorming of ways to make further contact with them. But Valiant Thor knew that making contact was not enough. They needed to find a way to work together with these evolved humans to help guide humanity on Earth towards a more positive future. With this goal in mind, he returned to Earth after only 30 days and promptly met with the President of the United States. Thor suspected that this was the most powerful human on Earth at the time. This event would mark the first time a President of the United States would knowingly meet with an alien. It would, however, not be the last. The Secret Contributions of Valiant Thor, Washington, D.C., 1952. In the wake of the Roswell incident, the world held its breath, as if the land itself were aware of the cosmic tremors that had reverberated through its very essence. It was in this enigmatic terrain that Valiant Thor, the mysterious and heroic cosmic wanderer, found himself advising President Harry S. Truman regarding interplanetary civilizations who were currently known to be on the planet Earth. As Valiant Thor continued his discussions with Truman about interplanetary civilizations, he couldn't shake off the feeling of danger lurking in the shadows. He knew that his presence on Earth was not going unnoticed by other civilizations, particularly their long-standing enemy, who had a deep-seated resentment towards him. But despite this knowledge, Valiant Thor remained focused on his mission to guide humanity towards a better future. Little did he know, this resolve would soon be put to the test in a dramatic and unexpected way. In the month of July 1952, while Valiant Thor was still in Washington, D.C., a series of unidentified flying objects were sighted over the city. This caused widespread panic and confusion among the public and government officials alike. At first, many believed that these UFOs were part of some elaborate hoax or military exercise. However, as sightings continued and increased in frequency, it became clear that there was something more sinister at play. Valiant Thor immediately recognized these UFOs as belonging to their long-standing enemy civilization. They had finally made their move to attack him on Earth. The situation quickly escalated when one night, an intense battle broke out in the skies above Washington, D.C., between Valiant Thor's newly assembled advanced spacecraft and the enemy's fleet of UFOs. It was a battle unlike any seen before on Earth, with advanced weapons and technology used by both sides. Buildings shook from the shockwaves caused by laser beams and explosions filled the air. The sky lit up with flashes of light as the two opposing forces engaged in combat. The people of Washington, D.C., already on edge from previous UFO sightings, now found themselves caught in the middle of this intergalactic war. Panic spread through the streets as they watched in awe and fear at what was unfolding above them. As the battle raged on in the skies above Washington, Valiant Thor quickly realized that he needed to go into hiding. He couldn't risk any innocent lives being caught in the crossfire and becoming collateral damage in the ongoing war between him and his enemy. But before he could disappear, Valiant Thor had one more important task to complete, delivering another and perhaps final message to Harry Truman. It was a message of both warning and advice, urging him to be cautious of other interplanetary civilizations and their intentions towards Earth. However, as Valiant Thor prepared to meet in person with President Truman to discuss his message even further, the president suddenly fell ill. Rumors began to spread that the enemy aliens were behind this illness as a way to keep Valiant Thor away from the president. But regardless of the truth behind his sickness, it only further cemented the urgency of the message. When Valiant Thor was finally able to meet with President Truman in person, he expanded on his prior warnings and urged again for extreme caution in dealing with other interplanetary civilizations. Although President Truman was hesitant to implement any real changes resulting from Valiant Thor's counsel, he couldn't deny that there were indeed UFOs present in their airspace and that something extraordinary was indeed happening. Meanwhile, sightings of UFOs continued all over the world, not just in Washington, D.C., but also in other major cities like New York and Los Angeles. People were fascinated yet also terrified at the prospect of extraterrestrial life visiting Earth. Valiant Thor then went into hiding while keeping an eye on Earth from a safe distance. The attacks from Valiant Thor's enemy stopped after he distanced himself from the leaders in Washington, D.C., but nevertheless, this warning message had been delivered, and it was very clear that these aliens would stop at nothing to take out Valiant Thor once and for all, if and when given the chance. After delivering his urgent message to Truman, Valiant Thor knew that he had to go into hiding to ensure the safety of both himself and the people of Earth. He couldn't risk any more attacks from his enemy, and wanted to avoid any potential harm to innocent lives. So Valiant Thor made the decision to move to the small, remote city of Churchill in Manitoba, Canada. This quiet and peaceful town was located on the Hudson Bay and known for its stunning views of beluga whales and polar bears. As Valiant Thor settled into his new home, he spent much of his time observing these magnificent creatures in their natural habitat. He found peace in the beauty and simplicity of nature, away from the chaos and conflict of Washington, D.C. But even in this serene setting, Valiant Thor could not escape his responsibilities as an interplanetary ambassador. He continued to monitor events in Washington and communicate with other members of his own civilization stationed at their secret base beneath the surface of Venus. During this time, many people around the world were still reeling from the shock of UFO sightings and trying to make sense of what was happening. Some welcomed the idea of extraterrestrial life visiting Earth, while others feared it. Meanwhile, Valiant Thor's enemies continued their search for him. They knew that he was no longer in Washington, D.C., but they were determined to find him and eliminate him once and for all. As months passed without any sign of Valiant Thor or further attacks on Washington, D.C., people began to question if perhaps he had left for good or if he even existed at all. As years passed, Valiant Thor continued to live in peace and seclusion in Churchill, Manitoba. He had grown fond of the small town and its people, but he knew that his duties were not over yet. One day, Valiant Thor received a message from his fellow beings on Venus. They informed him that there would be a change in leadership in the United States, and that it was crucial for him to return to Washington, D.C., to ensure the safety and progress of humanity. Valiant Thor understood the importance of this mission and bid farewell to the people of Churchill. With one last look at the beautiful polar bears and beluga whales, he boarded his spacecraft and set off back towards Washington. Upon his arrival back in D.C., Valiant Thor could sense that things had changed drastically since he left. The city was buzzing with tension and uncertainty as a new American president had been elected, Dwight D. Eisenhower, a former military leader from the last World War among the humans. Valiant Thor knew that this new leader's military background could potentially lead to dangerous decisions and actions towards other nations or even possible conflicts with extraterrestrial civilizations. He wasted no time and immediately sought out President Eisenhower. Despite being warned about his arrival by top government officials, Eisenhower agreed to meet with Valiant Thor. In their meeting, Valiant Thor shared his wisdom about peace, unity, and progress for all of humanity. He also warned Eisenhower about the dangers of aggression towards other nations as well as beings from other planets. Initially skeptical, Eisenhower was gradually convinced by Valiant Thor's powerful arguments, which were supported by demonstrations of his advanced alien technology. Truman, his predecessor, had left him a note regarding this vexing matter in his resolute desk after all. After their meeting, Eisenhower became closer allies with Valiant Thor than even Truman was, and the president eventually trusted him more than anyone else in his cabinet or inner circle of advisors. He frequently sought out advice from Thor, who was always glad to provide the president with his wise counsel. As time went on, Valiant Thor's influence on President Eisenhower grew even stronger, leading to significant policy changes such as the interstate highway system within America. Under his guidance, the United States shifted its focus from military dominance to a slightly more subtle posture. This was the most rewarding period in Valiant Thor's lifetime, but unfortunately, his enemies had not yet forgotten him. Alien Encore, Washington, D.C., 1953. Valiant Thor had returned to Washington, D.C., as per the request of his fellow beings on Venus. He had been tasked with ensuring both the safety and progress of humanity during a crucial time in Earth's history. As Valiant Thor settled back into his duties, he couldn't help but feel a sense of unease. The Korean War was escalating, and tensions between the United States and other nations were high. Despite his efforts to counsel President Eisenhower towards peace, it seemed like the world was on the brink of escalating another devastating conflict. Valiant Thor also noticed an increase in UFO sightings around the world during this time. But what worried him most was when he received a warning from his fellow beings that his enemies were once again planning to attack him on Earth. He immediately alerted President Eisenhower's chief of staff and urged him to take precautionary measures against such an attack. However, Eisenhower was skeptical and dismissed Valiant Thor's warnings as more alien propaganda. As months passed by, Valiant Thor's concerns grew stronger as he witnessed firsthand the devastating consequences of war. He continued to advise President Eisenhower towards peace, but his advice largely now seemed to fall on deaf ears as tensions between countries continued to rise. Then one fateful day, everything changed. The rival aliens appeared over Washington, D.C., just as they had done years ago during Truman's presidency. This time, however, they came with even more force and aggression, attacking military bases and causing widespread chaos and destruction. Valiant Thor immediately sprang into action, using advanced technology unknown to his human allies in order to neutralize the enemy spaceships and protect innocent civilians. But despite his efforts, innocent lives were lost in the attack. Inside the White House, chaos ensued as everyone tried to understand what was happening. President Eisenhower and his advisors were shocked and stunned by the sudden attack. They turned to Valiant Thor for answers, but he was nowhere to be found. Unknown to anyone at the time, Valiant Thor had rushed into battle against his age-old enemies in his own spacecraft. He knew that it was a risky move, but he couldn't stand by and watch innocent lives being taken. As he fought against the enemy spaceships, he sent out a distress signal to his fellow beings on Venus, hoping they would come to help. And help did indeed arrive. Any peaceful extraterrestrial civilizations responded to Valiant Thor's call for aid and joined forces with him against these interplanetary invaders. Together, they were able to drive off their enemy, but not without significant casualties. Valiant Thor himself sustained severe injuries during the battle. His spacecraft was heavily damaged, and he could feel his life force slowly fading away. Despite this, he continued to fight until the very end, determined not to allow any more harm to innocent lives. In a final act of both bravery and sacrifice, valiant Thor used all of his remaining strength and energy to destroy the enemy mothership before eventually succumbing to his injuries. The news of valiant Thor's death spread quickly among the very few humans who were aware of his existence, causing shock and disbelief among those who had come to appreciate him. President Eisenhower privately declared a day of mourning in honor of their fallen hero. The other extraterrestrial civilizations on Earth and across the cosmos mourned valiant Thor's death as well. They recognized him as a brave warrior who had given his life for the greater good of the universe. They also promised to continue working with humanity towards peace to honor his memory. He was survived in death by his lifelong companion and fellow traveler of the cosmos, the lovely Lady Anna, who left Earth to live out her final years with her own kind at their nearby base on Venus. But even in death, valiant Thor's legacy continued on. Although there were many who continued to deny it, Earth had now witnessed firsthand the existence of advanced alien technology and peaceful beings from other worlds. With his enemies finally defeated, valiant Thor's vision for a peaceful and united future for human civilization now finally seemed within the realm of possibility. Unfortunately, this cosmic peace and unity was not to last.